Working overtime feels like progress, but financially, it'll only get you so far and it won't propel you forward. What's up, working people? It's the working man sharing my 2 cents, and hopefully it makes sense. I've spent over 2 decades in the construction industry. I've watched guys work every drop of overtime on the job, sacrifice their health, their bodies, their family, their marriages, and the most important events of their lives just to be on the job making time and a half. And I quickly realized years ago that that wasn't the path to wealth. And I want to share my insights with you guys and help you and hopefully build a community here where we have a similar mindset, where we focus on building multiple income streams while working our full-time jobs. Let's get started. So, what are the problems with constantly working all the overtime? I wrote some things down and we're going to get into it. All right, the first problem is that it's heavily taxed. Okay, if you live in a high income tax state, like I do, here in the Northeast, there's no escaping the taxes. Okay, um, basically, most guys, the only tax write-offs they have are their dependents, which are the children, the 401k, and their primary residence. Okay, and that's about it. Right now, if you're a single guy, then maybe all you have is your 401k. If you don't have a 401k, then you got to get started with something. I recommend either a IRA, Roth IRA, maybe both, and just start where you are with what you have. Okay, we can go into the differences between that in a future video. If you want me to go into that, we can. There are plenty of other channels that go into that, but just that's where we're going to start. Okay, so it's heavily taxed. And here's what happens, right? If you're in a high income state, it's not impossible to get to the $150,000 threshold. Now, I know what the average wages are across America. It seems like $150,000 or even getting over $100,000 is almost impossible. Okay, I know this is not going to apply to everyone. However, the problems are still the same. The point is that the more you make, the more they're going to tax you. So you have to find ways to minimize your tax burden. That's the first thing. The second thing, physically dependent. There's a ceiling to how much overtime you can make because you have to be on the job to earn that income. Okay, so there are only so many hours during the week, right? If you have a 40-hour job, let's say you're working overtime. In construction, it's not uncommon to do 3 hours a night, 3 to 5 hours a night. That's Monday through Friday and possibly Saturdays and Sundays. On the job that I'm on right now, they're working 3 hours extra every day. So that's 11 hours a day, okay? And Saturdays, 8 to 10 hours on Saturdays and Sundays, okay? So now imagine, think about this. You're on the job, you're working all this overtime, basically, and that's not even factoring in your commute. Okay, where I live, an hour and a half one way is not uncommon. That's about average. Okay, and that is not pertaining to distance, right? You could live very close to the job. I mean, under 20 miles, and it'll still take you that long to get there. Okay, so now add those 3 hours plus the 10 to 11 hours that you're doing on the job, and there's really literally no time left during your day to do anything. You work, you go home, you shower, you sleep, and you eat dinner, and you repeat the next day. All right, sorry, I jumbled all that up, but you understand what I'm saying. All right, the third thing is it's non-scalable. Okay, you can't generate more income based off of your labor, right? So again, there's going to be a ceiling to how much money you can make. All right. So now let's get into the solutions. The first thing is you want to build income that's not time dependent. Okay. What are some ways that you can do that? Well, if you have a considerable amount of time in your industry, like I have, right? I have 25 years in electrical construction. I'm also a consultant. Okay. I also offer, mentorship. personal development coaching, things of that nature. These are things that you can do, and you have to find out in your industry if you could do the same thing. Or let's say you just have multiple cars. You're a car guy. Well, you can do things like Turo and rent some of your cars out, okay, and keep one primary car. The idea is that you want to find ways to generate income where you don't have to be physically dependent on the job. Number two, learn how the money and tax system actually works. Learn how you're taxed. Learn how the tax brackets work, okay? Because here's what happens, and this is what I do a lot of times. I know more or less how much money I make during the year and which tax bracket I'm gonna fall into, okay? Now, obviously, we all need to earn money to survive. I get that. But you have to understand that there's a point of diminishing returns based on how many hours you work during the week. Like I've noticed for myself in particular, once I get past a certain amount of hours of overtime, it's literally like more than half of my check is going to taxes. Okay, so it's almost not beneficial for me, okay, to work those extra hours because I'm not keeping most of what I earn. In addition to that, I may have maxed out my 401k at that point, right? So most of that is going towards taxes. Now, if you're in a different type of position, and let's say you have real estate investments or you have more write-offs, you have, let's say, a side business, okay, you can write off more of that income, and there are more things that you can write off. So you'll end up keeping more of your money, okay? Number three, convert excess income into assets, not lifestyle. Here's what happens, right? You're on a job where you're making money. There's a lot of overtime. Guess what? You just spend more, right? You get a nicer car, more subscriptions, you're eating out more. And, ultimately building wealth as a working person, you're going to have to make sacrifices, okay? And my philosophy is, listen, I live, pretty much a minimalist lifestyle. It's not extreme by any sense of the imagination. I love to travel. I've traveled all over the world. However, I keep my expenses very, very low, right? I have a decent car, right? But I'm not looking to get a new vehicle every 3 years, okay? I'm not looking to get the latest phone every other year, okay? Unless it's business related, unless I can write it off. Get assets that can generate income to give you the things that you want. You want a certain vehicle? Get a couple rentals under your belt. 2 to 4 rentals, 2 to 5 real estate investments, cash flowing properties will change your life significantly as a working person. And it'll alleviate the burden where you don't have to work so many hours just to survive. And not only that, when the downturns come, which they will, okay, and you happen to get laid off or the hours are reduced, you can still live the way you want to live for the most part, okay, and not only survive, but thrive. So that's the name of the game. So that's it for today. Every video, I want to try to come up with a few solutions, some actionable steps that you can use as a working person, just to get your mindset right on how to build these multiple income streams. I will go into more detail in future videos, and these are going to be the core principles for helping us to build financial freedom. And lastly, the wise working man is anyone that's on the path towards financial freedom while simultaneously becoming the greatest version of themselves. God bless.